Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast. As always, with my co-hosts Joe and Ryan, whose names I managed to get right this week. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Lee.
That's what I like to hear. Any exciting news or gossip or
Before
mundane
then,
things that happened this week?
Before then, we need to say, how are you, Lee?
Oh, look at that. It's becoming a regular thing now. I'm good, Joe. I'm very good. Thank you very much for asking.
I was waiting on bated breath there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I thought I'd do a dramatic. Just see. Let's wait.
So, thank you everyone for listening again. As always, we are across all social media platforms at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN. I hope Ryan did some head bobbing there. Joe is at JN Coaching Tech. We are on YouTube at the Inspiration Nation podcast, and of course, Joe's favourite of TikTok, JN Coaching Technologies.
TikTokage.
What is the discussion for this week, Joe?
This week is what makes you do what you do. I don't know where it come from. It just came from my mind, and I just wanted to talk about what makes us do what we do. So,
it just came from my mind is going to be the first quote that goes up this week to promote the show. Just so you know,
it just came from the mind. So that's really what it came to mind, as we say. The reason I've done this is because it was inspired really by us doing our 5 a.m. get together. Because I know I've mentioned it before, but that was pretty impressive. I thought that was really good. So why do we do that? And also, at Christmas, why did we start posting stuff at Christmas? Why do we do the things that we do? And I think we just need to drill down into that. I mean, I love doing this stuff because, me personally, I think it really adds a lot of value out there. And I think it's our perspective on what we think self-development is, where we are in our current journey. And I think it just makes a whole difference. And the fact that, because I think in this society, and I don't know if you guys agree, but people focus a lot on money and they're doing it because I want to get a bit more money and stuff like that. And yeah, that is important, but it's not number one. And even today I had a little discussion with someone. They said, yeah, I've moved to this different area, but it's much more money. And yeah, I get the whole money thing. And I think Ryan talked about it before, that, when you're sort of starting out your career, you probably are shifting around for money to sort of get a baseline. Then after that, it's more around, getting something that fulfills you. And of course, where we are right now, where I am right now, I mean, when I first was doing it, when I first left my first company to join the company I'm now, I did move because they did offer me money, but there was also promotion. I left to be a team leader. But at that time, I really didn't consciously think, oh, I'll tell you what, I'm doing it for something else. And I don't think I really did. I just really think I did do it for the money. Now, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I'm not quite sure. So I just wanted to talk about that and see what our thoughts are on it. So what's the drive for you doing it? So, all the stuff that we're doing now, we're not getting paid for it. We're doing it. I know, Ryan, you said before in a previous podcast that you're doing it because it's accountability. But let's sort of let's go beyond that and think, okay, so why are we doing this? Why do we do the things we do? And I can share a little story with you. That something happened to me this week. Lee did ask whether we've done anything this week. And
are you holding back on me, Joe?
No, I wouldn't do that. It's really only a very, very recent turn of events. Well, I love this movie called Ip Man. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Ip Man, IP Man. It's Ip Man. This movie. So, anyone heard of it?
My head at the camera right now.
Yeah, so was I.
Okay. So well, when I was very, very young, back in my young days, I really liked the Karate Kid. Remember the Karate Kid? Wax on, wax off. Maybe not. Maybe these guys don't even know. I don't know. Back in the day, went to karate lessons for about 2 weeks, then give it up. Well, no, give it up. So I've always wanted to do something like martial arts, but I've never really thought about it. And now I'm doing all self-development, really into self-development space. I thought, well, I do want to do something that's a bit physical. I used to do a lot of badminton and stuff. I've not really done that. And so sort of jobs we work in used to be very shift orientated. I'm quite lucky that I'm not very much shift orientated now. And I think you guys aren't the same, I think now. So I'm quite fortunate, I don't have to work at weekends, which is I'm really fortunate to that. So this has allowed me now to sort of go, well, actually, I want to get something that's going to be quite physical. So I was watching Ip Man anyway, and Ip Man was the mentor for Bruce Lee. He was the mentor who started Bruce Lee on his journey. And now, obviously, Bruce Lee was an absolute legend. But now what they're doing is doing a backstory for Ip Man and how he started and what he was into. And his discipline was Wing Chun. And so I watched
Bless you, Joe.
Wing Chun. Yeah, that's what people think. They don't know what it is, right? So I did have a little tissue there. So I said, well, I want to start this thing. I watched the film. I got inspired last night because there was like a Ip Man 4's come out. I watched 1, 2, and 3, but there's this other film that sort of like a shoot off of it that came up, and it got me really inspired. So I thought, right, I need to go off and I need to find a class and I need to do it idea to action. So I got the old Tinternet, whacked in Wing Chun class near me, boom, got there, sent them a little email, got a little email back saying why do I want to do it anyway. I didn't hear much off that, so I thought, right, I need to phone these guys. So I phoned them, boom, and I'm going to go Monday night. So I'm going to my first martial arts Wing Chun class on Monday. And I was thinking, why didn't I do this earlier? Why am I doing this? And I'm doing it because it made me feel inspired. When I watched these films, it made me feel inspired. So I'm going to try this thing, go and do it. And I'm hoping it's going to be a long-term love affair with the Wing Chun. That's what I'm hoping. Because I always want to do martial arts, but I've never sort of found anything that sticks. So I'm really hoping this sticks. So watch this space, and let's see how long this lasts. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Oh, yeah. Hobby. Oh, I tell you what, that's not a bad idea, actually. I wonder if there might be a little gif about this. Ooh.
I'll just put one up for you, Joe. I'll just put one up.
Oh, my word. Yeah. Yeah, look.
So people can see
this is Ip Man. Here we go. Boom. This is going to be me in about 10 years' time.
Oh, there he is. I'm not moving my camera again. People just have to guess the other gif that we've put up. Right, before we kill our respective internets again, we better not do that again. So, Joe.
Right.
So, obviously, this is something you've liked. I did a quick little Wikipedia on the film while you were talking about the story there, so I could see about it. So it's been in your consciousness for some time. So,
yes.
For your question of why we're doing this, what today's show is, what was it about now that made you think, right, I'm going to give this a go?
I felt inspired. Like, when I said about when I started the Inspiration Nation thing, I've got to do things that inspire me. Even in the previous podcasts, someone offered me a position. I turned it down because I didn't feel that it was leading into my inspiring things. So anything I do with Inspiration Nation, anything I do, it's got through the lens of being inspired. And I felt inspired. Then my idea came to me that I needed to do this thing, and I always want to do a bit of running, and done that for a while actually, but I need to get back into that as well. But I think this will be the catalyst for me to get back into that and back into a bit more fitness. I'll still do my morning routine for press ups, but I think I needed something more. So I think it's that next step about, I was talking about health, not a lot, and I'm still about health. I'm still on and off with that. I mean, I try and have some fruit and all that malarkey, but still not 100%. I still eat some dirty stuff going on. But there's much more consciousness around health and stuff like that. But I think there's probably that. But these little things that you do to sort of ramp up a little bit, and I think this is probably that next step in that thing about ramping it up into something that's sort of more of a lifestyle thing. It's once a week, so it's not like it's twice or 3 times, 4 times a week. And I think you talked about, Lee, we're not going to throw ourselves in the deep end straight away because it might put us off. Like you said about, drinking more water, taking a bottle with you and Ryan, like you were doing this sort of same, you're helping each other out. This is for me, it's like, step into it slowly, see what it's like. And do you know what they said? When I've gone for my first lesson, I can get a T-shirt. So I'm wondering whether I should, what do you reckon? Do you reckon I should get a T-shirt straight after the first session? Or do you think I should wait?
Why would you wait?
Exactly. So I thought if I commit to the T-shirt after the first session, then I've got to be committed.
Once you've got a T-shirt, you're in. How much of this, Ryan, do you think is Joe just trying to keep up with our new healthy lifestyles that we've adopted?
I've started taking bottles of drink to work as well now.
Look at this. We're all flying. I've added nothing new to my repertoire in the last week, I have to say.
No, but considering where you were before Christmas, I think this is... we always talk about looking back down the mountain, don't we? So let's not get too far away from ourselves.
Good inspiration there, Ryan.
Totally.
And yeah, I wasn't good before Christmas.
Not that I wasn't digging you out, obviously.
I think I started to look like a Quality Street.
What's a Quality Street? Oh, what one?
What does a
Which
quality
one?
street look like?
I feel we should move on. Ryan,
Oh,
what makes
I
you
actually
do
have
what you do? Oh no, I'm going off piste. What do you want, Joe?
No, I was going to say I've got a box of Quality Street behind me. I could actually have a little and see which one you look like, Liam. Both up to the camera.
Which
I don't
is
mean
the
I've
most
got
similar?
left. Anyway, so what do you guys think? I mean, like things about we talked about why we do the things we do. We talked about all these things. Why do the health things? Why do we do stuff at Christmas? Why do we do it at 5 a.m.? We've done accountability partners. So let me ask you guys, why are we doing this? Why are you doing it?
Because we're now doing this on camera, Joe. I can see you. I can hear you doing it.
Yeah, I've been mimicking clapping
your
as
palm
well.
slap.
I've been mimicking it as well.
I've just done it on camera, so everyone's going to know what you've done.
I'm going to do a bit of Wing Chun on camera when I'm starting my lessons. I'm doing a bit now, but I don't know how to be.
You're not doing the Joe T-Rex arms. It's all right.
I'm doing that's going to be the Wing Chun arms now. Wing Chun. It's going to be a new T-shirt. Ip Joe.
Right. For anyone who's still listening, shall we move on?
Yes. Come on. I've asked you the questions. Stop avoiding my questions.
Okay. Ryan, I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah.
What do you do and why do you do it?
Oh, sorry. I thought you had a specific question. Sorry. Outside of the things you have to do, because there are things you have to do in life, obviously. I do things primarily because I want to, or I'd like to. Why do I go to work? Or I like working where I work. I enjoy my job. It obviously pays my bills. And I've met good people and made good friends there. That's one of the main reasons I go to work.
So is that the main reason?
I mean,
what is the primary reason?
The primary reason for anyone going to work is for the monetary value to live.
So apart from the money, if it wasn't the money, what do you think?
I think you have to look past that, because everyone goes to work for that reason, for the same reason everyone breathes. You have to. You can't necessarily get away with not working, unless there are obviously special circumstances or whatever. But
so do you think
outside of that, outside of money, I go to work for the reasons that I've mentioned, because I like my job. I think I'm good at my job, and I've made good friends and good people and good acquaintances that I'd like to carry through.
Nice, I like that. Yeah. So building up the relationships, the actual culture, the people you're sort of there with, it makes a big difference. So what if you didn't enjoy the company of people, would you still be there?
I'd like to say no, but I do get comfortable. My place of work is 10 minutes down the road. As I say, it's a job that I'm relatively good at and au fait with. So it isn't something that, if the people weren't there, I'd just give up. But it would definitely be a motivating factor to try and get out if the people that I've made friends with no longer existed there, for sure.
Yeah. So
Ryan, you keep saying you're good at your job. I think we need to have a word off air.
Oh,
that's so demoralising.
We
talk about motivating people and being nice to each other, and Lee comes in with comments like that.
Yeah.
Humour's always a good way to motivate people.
Sure.
So we talked about money, didn't we? And I think you said, Ryan, that you have to work to get money. Do you think everybody in the whole world does their work just for the money? Because I know I've got my view on it, but
Do I think everybody in the world works primarily for money?
Yeah, for them, only for like to say I've got to pay my bills.
No, there'll be people like CEOs or CFOs that go to work to maintain their reputation and their brand. But I think the 99% of people, or the 99.9% of people, go to work to gain a monetary value, to provide for themselves, their families, or to live. We say that Lee mentioned that humour is a good motivation, but survival is the biggest motivation.
It goes back to that Maslow thing, doesn't it?
I was going to say, Joe, bust out a bit of Maslow.
So
yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
So because of that, so the easiest way to survive is with money. As long as inflation doesn't go mad and loaves of bread cost you £30 million like they did in World War II, then you'll be fine. But it's it's just making sure that you can survive and the people that rely on you and your dependents can survive as well. I think that's the main reason people go to work.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of things in this as well, because we do the things we do because a lot of in fact, it could be like for your family, to put, bread on the table, etc., things like that. And so people can sometimes feel trapped, because sometimes people are in like really well-paid jobs, they feel they can't move because they feel trapped. And that's why I think sometimes this is why I think coaching is such a powerful tool, because that can allow you to shift, make you to shift gradually if you want to shift. So I totally get that, and I think you reminded me actually when you said survive. It reminded us of the episode of was it Survivor, Navigator, and Victim?
Yeah.
Was it when we did that? We did it was 3, wasn't it? What was it? It's Navigator, wasn't it? Survivor, Navigator. That was the top one, wasn't it? Was there another one? Victim, wasn't it? Yeah.
And it was Victim. Yeah.
It was Victim, wasn't it? It was 3, and so it's just around. I think where we've done this inspirational podcast, when we're talking about what makes you do what you do, I'd really like to get people to start thinking about how can I navigate from this. So if you are a CEO, you might absolutely hate what you're doing at the moment. And I always say, remember, there's always a choice. There's always a choice you can make. You're not trapped in there. You don't always have to sort of say, look, I can't shift down or whatever, shift across. You can do it. Maybe you have to sort of go down a little bit and come up a little bit, but there's always a way. And I always say there's always hope to shift if you really want to. It doesn't matter what position you're in. If you're like not a very well paid job, there's always a way to work your way up, in terms of what you want to do, whether you want to get more expertise in something. So there's always something you can do. But I always ask people to say, well, look, try and find something. There's something in that you do enjoy doing. You might have to start not great enjoying it, but is there something you can appreciate about what you're doing, and then trying to shift it from there. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And going back to that whole thing, why do you do what you do? Why are we doing this? We're not even getting paid for this. So when Ryan said to me, people do it for money, I sort of do buy into that a bit, but I think there's another thing behind it about, we're doing this, we're not getting paid. And that speaks volumes for the things that we want to do. And I think, you could put things like people do hobbies, and I suppose, this could be classed as that at this point. But that's why people do the things. I mean, I think we're providing a really valuable service to people when we put these podcasts out. I think there's probably a lot of people in the same boat, what Ryan was saying around, people go to work for the money. How do they feel about it? Some people might go to work and think, I really hate my job at the moment. So what is it you hate about the job? What could you start to, is there anything you can appreciate about it? If you don't like the people, is there any way you can shift away from those people, maybe in the same company, to shift departments? Maybe it's that. Maybe you just don't like the repetitive nature. Is the sort of another job in the business you can, or maybe you need to shift businesses. Do you need to start looking and creating a plan for that? But there's lots of, I think, I was saying to my daughter the other day, because my daughter pinged me a little message to say, oh, why can't I find a decent summer job? And I said, that's the wrong question. I said, you need to start thinking about, if you say, why can't I find a summer job, and sort of have that tone, then your brain's just going to go back and go, it's because you can't find one. There's no jobs available, And the whole thing about it is you need to change the quality of the questions. The quality of the question you ask yourself is so important. So it should be something like, how can I find a job, bearing in mind the current circumstance I find myself in? It's a much more powerful question. So when we're doing this, making sure that people are trying to self-coach, if we're trying to do that, make sure that you write down a question that's going to empower you rather than disempower you. Like, why am I so rubbish? Well, your brain's going to say it's because you just are. It's going to come back with a terrible answer. So you need to get your brain to work to start to be more creative, a bit more innovative. And I know I've talked a little bit there, but Lee, I'm going to throw this one over to you. What are your thoughts on all this?
My thought is that people should head over to inspirationnation.org.uk, where they can get themselves some Inspiration Nation merchandise, hoodies, t-shirts, my favourite, the tote bag, and of course it's time for our mugshot on the camera, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Get your Inspiration Nation mugs over there as well. Lots of fantastic merchandise. Show your love for the podcast. We appreciate the support, and then maybe one day we will get paid for doing this. inspirationnation.org.uk. How's that for an honest advert? Right. Anyway, my actual thoughts. So there's something I had a bit of a epiphany is a strong word, because it didn't just come to me. It's a thought that's been building for a little while around what I do and my life, and obviously doing the podcast. I think just makes it, certainly for me, it's made me a lot more reflective on myself than I think I ever have been in the past. And I was listening to something and someone was talking and they were telling the story. I just pulled my headphone out again. Hold on. It's back in. And someone was telling the story, and at the end of it, someone said, "Oh, that was fun." And the word was really flat to me in listening to the word fun. And I thought, well, that's a bit... it stuck in my head, and I was thinking, why don't I think things are fun? Because it's like it's not a word I use of anything. And then it kind of occurred to me that I think it's because everything I do is fun in one way or another. And I generally enjoy everything I do, and I gravitate to doing things I enjoy, and I move to doing things I enjoy in my life. So, for example, I like my job. I like doing the podcast. I like playing Fortnite online when I play with Ryan. I like when I get home and have a routine I do where I listen to other podcasts and sort out my stuff that I do, or when I go out at the weekend. So generally everything I do is fun. And I think subconsciously that's the driver behind everything, is I'm striving to do things that I enjoy, which I don't think would have been my answer to that question 12 months ago.
It's really funny you saying that, because do you remember when we talked about our one words at one point? You know, mine's inspire, isn't it? Inspire.
Yeah.
Did you say yours was fearless or something?
No, mine was accountability.
Was it accountability?
I like to be responsible. But again, that's one of my drivers. So when I was younger, and so like teens and stuff, and I'd be playing computer games and all that sort of stuff because I was a super cool nerd when I was a teenager. I was a nerd before it was cool to be nerd. It was a tough time then, before the Big Bang Theory. But I used to love simulation games, and especially business type simulation games. And I'd really enjoy them. And I like the challenge aspects. I like starting with nothing and building stuff come up. And I think I've talked in a previous podcast that once you kind of get over that hump and everything's going really well, I kind of got bored and I wanted to go back to something that had a challenge again. And then kind of building a career is like the big real world version of doing exactly that sort of thing. And that kind of structure I really enjoy. And the same with the podcast. We do this, we like obviously the conversations and stuff we do, the interactions we have each other, and the response we've got from people is fantastic. And we're trying to promote a message and support people. But there's an aspect in the background that is the challenge of growing this and growing listeners and making it successful. And again, kind of back to that business simulation structure thing. And I think there's a lot of things in my life that kind of center around that, again, that I really, really enjoy. So I don't know if that whole kind of accountability driver thing has gone, but I'm definitely more aware that actually there's not much I don't enjoy. And even when, and that doesn't mean everything's always rosy. I was saying before we started recording, this week has been quite a hard week at work. Not hard as in pressured, but there's been a lot of stuff and a lot of deadlines all coming at once. So actually, I've pretty much just worked and slept this week for 4 days, which doesn't happen very often. I always tell people it's peaks and troughs. But even through that, and the kind of perseverance of pushing through and getting stuff done and knowing it's going to be challenging, but when it's done, I'm back on kind of the downward trend for a little while. Again, I kind of enjoy all that stuff. So it's not always that it's breezy or I'm laughing. It might be difficult, but doing difficult things and getting through them, again, is actually something that's fun at its core. Because it's a bit boring otherwise.
I think that's really good, because you're saying it's fun. So actually your main word is fun then, not accountability.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that is, and I just, started putting this together in my head. It's I muse every so often. And as I look back, I think that's always been the case. And again, it doesn't mean there haven't been times when I have a job that I really don't like and you have to talk yourself going into work, or that I'm having difficult problems with my personal life, or, money is tight, or all the other things that happen to all of us at various times. But even when I'm going through those times and it's really tough, my end goal is to get back to that place where I'm doing something I enjoy. So it's still kind of driving in the background. So the more I talk, the more you're right, Joe.
I love it. Because that, I think I put this out to our listeners about always try and find what your common, your common lens is, your positive common lens. Yours is fun, mine's inspire, So, as I said, for you, it's like driving everything through the lens of fun, which is really powerful once you identify that, because you can go back to, I perceive this everything as fun. I mean, that's why you're driving. And actually, I can remember you saying about building things from nothing. If I just say one word to you, you might remember what I'm going to talk about, something that you like building up from nothing. We did it almost like at the same time we played this particular game.
Football Manager.
Yeah, we call
I
it.
love-
We call it
Champo.
Champo.
Back
Yeah.
from when it was called Championship Manager back in the day. And it
Yeah.
was. I don't like starting at a top level. I like starting with the kind of the most bare bones I possibly can and building it up. That's again, it's my pattern in the background, I think.
It was the weirdest thing, wasn't it? We started with the same team, which is really odd.
Yeah, daggers.
The Daggers. We don't forget that, will we? But yeah, so that's really.
Oh, how
so
times were in the 80s.
This was early 2000s.
I got so caned for that though, because
What?
when we played online, right, it was like just as they're bringing broadband in, and I got so much abuse of
Just
being
so you know,
online.
Ryan, there was a time before broadband.
Is that the thing where you picked up the phone and it made the funny noise?
That's it.
That's exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to go before that, Ryan. Before even that, right? There was no internet. It was not an internet. It was like a very basic version when I was at school. So I
What
don't think it
time
was
to
internet.
be alive.
Joe. There wasn't computers when you were at school.
There was. There was like.
You had gas lights in the classroom.
Oh well.
And you
know,
get out
like,
your quill and your chalkboard.
good old days, right? Those chalkboards with the big wooden bits on. You won't remember those, but yeah, they were like amazing. But yeah, back in the days of the old ZX Spectrum. Oh, there'll be some listeners out there, I hope, that remember the ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64.
Oh, I used to have a Commodore 64.
VIC 20, I didn't have one of those. I had a ZX81 with 48k of RAM. Now we get an email that's bigger than 48k. These gifts are bigger than 48k. Gift City, all these gifts has probably smashed my ZX Spectrum. Be lucky to get any sort of quality like that, but this is what I mean. It's like it's incredible, isn't it? But so going back to Ryan, then Ryan, what do you think your one sort of lens is? Do you think? I don't know whether you don't have to you might not have it yet, but have you got anything that you sort of
my one word?
Yeah, like your one sort of thing.
I was trying to think what my answer was last time, but I may not have been there because I don't remember answering that question. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm sure.
I don't think we did an exercise. I think we talked about it in quite an early one.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to say it's something similar, without trying to steal his answer, something similar to Lee's. Something to do with fun or enjoyment. Because he is right. I mean, primarily everything we do is because we want to enjoy doing it. And I agree with that. It's just, sometimes they don't have to be mutually exclusive. You know, you can do something to survive, but you can do something to survive because it's fun to do as well. So I'd like to say I sit in the same kind of boat. Yeah,
I like that because it is. I think it's an ongoing an awareness thing as well. It's like as you go through. Now we've said it. It's something you're probably thinking about. But it is quite. I mean, literally, it's taken me up until now, very recently, to find mine because I did an exercise in a book by Evan Carmichael. I'll go and grab it. Called One Word, and it's such a great exercise. In fact, I'll let you guys talk. I'll go and grab it. I'll let you guys talk for a bit. I'll go and grab it. You guys have a little chat. Hang on.
Should we talk like it's an actual podcast and not just have a little chat?
Yeah. You got a question?
No, I've got what I will do, and I think we did talk about this before, is I will get off the exercise about picking your one word that I've done before, because it's a really useful thing to kind of help get to know yourself. And I just did a quick Google there, and there's loads of different exercises on the internet too. So everyone listening, I'd encourage you, if you've not done this, obviously Joe will show you the book too that led him to his, to go off and do that sort of exercise. But kind of like Joe said, Ryan, it's taken me till, well, and it's probably only in the last 6 months, so till I'm 37, to really hone in on this fun thing. And I do think a lot earlier on, those kind of survival things were probably more what was my instinctive driver. But I think as time goes on, your perception changes and your needs change and your mindset around this stuff changes. So I would expect whatever you find, yours will change quite quickly, especially because, I mean, God knows what my word would have been at your age. As I said, I think you're further ahead in your development journey now than I certainly was when I was at your age.
Yeah.
And obviously it's taken Joe till he's 87 to find his word as well.
Yeah. I think obviously it comes with life experience as well. Like the pair of you have had kids. The pair of you have been married. That hasn't happened to me. So like, how do I know what drives me to do things until I've experienced life in full? Like, I'm 24. Like, there aren't many things I haven't done, obviously, but
Sorry, guys.
I think you guys have obviously seen a different world than what I have. So it's hard for me to, at this stage, I'm enjoying myself, and I think that's primarily the best part.
Yeah.
But in 10 years' time, if I'm married with kids, that may be completely different. I may have to be more serious. So I don't know. I don't know at this stage.
Taking a leaf out of a serious dad like me, Ryan.
That's it. That's it.
But I think you're right. I think all your experiences you go through change your mindset and change what drives you. And some things will stick with you and some won't. And like Joe often references, this whole fun thing for me is very much a joining the dots backwards sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it will change. In 10 years' time, my answer will probably be completely different again. And there'll be different things that I've experienced that have led me to different events. Have you got your book there, Joe?
I have.
Did you do a 1 minute video on this book this week?
I did. So I'm going to.
Yeah, I thought I saw that.
But yeah, it's really, really good. I mean, it says here like it's just really sort of things you got to think about, things like your favourite book, your favourite movie, what's your favourite song, who's your best friend, and then you sort of make a list of things like what you really don't like, what you really despise, all those sorts of things. And what you do is you find out what you really hate, or you really don't like, and what you really love. And then with the sort of, go back to your favourite teacher, what was it you liked about that favourite teacher, or your favourite movie? And then what you do is you make a list. And then what you do is you look at all the information, you then pick out what the common denominator is out of all those things. And mine came out as inspiration. So a lot of things for me was like, I love the Rocky movies, all that type of thing. I like, when I used to go into businesses, I used to think, who's here is going to inspire me? I need to have things that will sort of get me going. So I've always been in the background, even when I watch this film, Hitman, that I've just talked about. When I watch it, I felt inspired. Rocky films inspired me, and Hitman inspires me. So, I'm really glad I found that. So all the decisions now that I will make it through that lens. Everything I do will go through that lens. Does this inspire me? Does it really, resonate with me on that level? And it's really useful because that becomes such a solid foundation to make decisions. So when you're talking like you're going to raise a family and everything, you still look through that lens. It doesn't matter because you're going to do the things that make you who you are, the things that make you fill you up. So if people give you opinions, do this, do that, do the other. It's so many different opinions that people are going to say, well, you should do that because that's the thing they think you should do. If you don't have, your rock, people are going to try and, move you over to their particular agenda. So it's really important, I think, to really sort of ground yourself in something that you really resonates with you. Because otherwise you get bounced around. And that's why I've had that quite a lot of life. And I think only with this sort of exercise and really, like you said, self-reflection, we can really sit strong and go, no, this is the thing for me. I know that for me, coaching and feeling inspired are the things that I know, no matter what goes on around me, no matter what storms are around me, no matter what emotions going around me, I can feel centered in that belief that, as long as I am doing the things that make me feel inspired, then I will be achieving things that will move me closer towards my goals and what I want to achieve and what I want to get out of my life. And so it just gives you that real sort of definite, since we're doing the podcast, a lot more confidence. And I think we can all be a testament that we've grown since doing the podcast that Lee had a testament to. I think definitely for me, starting this whole thing off with the one video and going through has definitely given me so much more confidence. And there's days, I think, like you guys say, there's days that I don't feel it. And I think it helps you push through those things. So having that lens helps you push through. Definitely helps you push through because it makes you feel good once you've done it. So definitely that's helped. That was my thoughts on that anyway. What are your thoughts on any of that?
That's good. What's the book called, Joe? Have you held it up to the screen already?
Your One Word by Evan Carmichael. It's excellent. He's actually released just another book called Built to Serve. So I might be getting that one as well at some point. But really, really good book. I could not recommend it even more. It's just really good because the way it's written, it's really straightforward. It's really practical. And I think sometimes you get these books and they can be really not practical. They're just very, I don't know, what's the word? They're just not it's really hard to apply it. Sometimes can be quite theoretical, but this stuff is really practical, really apply it. And you can really, if you're willing to set aside, an hour of your time to read the book, do the exercises, even, you'll really benefit. And I think definitely for me over the last, year or two now, sitting down and really, doing this, my journey and doing this podcast has really, I think, set me on a different way. And even today, I was with a manager and we're doing my review, and I really have a definite course. Like, it's a real super clear, definite course now in my career, what we're going to be doing, what we do with this, when we talk about, how we're going to, all of us going to move this forward. I really have a clear path of what I think, what I can bring to the table, what I can, bring in terms of what I think are my strongest skills and strongest passions to it, to help as many people as possible. I think that's where it comes from.
And I think probably, Joe, that number one skill for you would be coaching. If those listening want some support from Joe and his excellent coaching skills, you've heard a lot of it on this show, what he does for people, what he's done for us and what he's done for himself. Just stick JN Coaching Technologies into your Google machine. Take to Joe's website. There's some great reading resources on there. Good materials. You can contact Joe about his coaching services. And of course, there is the weekly blog that you can sign up for. And there's a link there to Joe's daily videos. We must be in the high 400s now, Joe.
We are on day 491.
I was going to say, is it 491? Because that times nicely with our thoughts that we are moving towards 500. So it's fantastic. Obviously, there are a lot of videos there if no one's had a look at them before. So go over. That is JN Coaching Technologies.
Oh, okay. Any more thoughts on that, guys?
How much do you think what we do and what other people do is just about being a good person?
What would you say? Is a good person?
I think being. Do you think?
Both of you. What do you think?
Oh, because I've got a different view than you. But no, I want to hear your views.
Very little is probably a bit of a stretch. I think everyone. I think a lot of things people do, they do them for an ulterior motive. However, in doing those things, they serve both sides. So, take us playing Fortnite, for example. I don't like playing Fortnite by myself. So there's a selfish side of that. However, I also like engaging with you because you're my friend. Therefore, I don't do it because I'm a nice person and want to help you win or play as a team. I also do it because I'm selfish and don't want to play by myself.
But does one reason cancel out the other?
I don't think they cancel each other out, but I don't think purely people do many things for the sake of being a good person. I think there's always not an ulterior motive. It makes it sound really negative, doesn't it? Not an ulterior motive, but there's another maybe motivation or inspiration to doing something. So that's my opinion. I could be wrong. You're all gone quiet.
No. And again, we all have our own views on our thing and people around us and everything like that. Because the thing for me, and it's funny because when you guys will know, I'm atrocious at responding to messages. Atrocious. And my friends and family are all very, very aware of this. But when I realise that someone thought that I ignored them on the message, I feel terrible, and I start to make a conscious effort to respond more because of how that person's feeling. And I think that thing about how the people you care about feel potentially could be, again, another separate to the inward thing of, fun or inspiration or accountability, whatever that self thing is. There's how much of it is about your interactions with other people, and it could be good and bad, because how much of what you do is driven through defensiveness because of other people around you. And the other big thing I want to say, and I think it's something that's become more and more aware in society, is insecurities, anxieties, all those sorts of things. How much of what people do is kind of putting up their own, I suppose, back to your survival thing, Ryan, how much is it people putting up their barriers that causes a reaction that people perceive in a certain way, that puts their barriers up, that causes another reaction, and people end up kind of reacting or responding through their own survival instincts to other people's survival instincts, and that ends up kind of forming relationships and events and situations and everything else like that.
I don't think everything happens for a reason, but not everything has a reason.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I think that's a good, and that is right. And I think there are, it's getting a bit kind of NLP style, which I'm too tired at the moment to get up and get my book and wave it in front of the screen. But it talks about how your brain is like a map, and events fall into a pattern. So your brain's like a pattern and a map, and it's formed by all the things that have happened to you. And once you can understand what triggers your responses because of all your past events, that's how you can start to shape it and develop yourself. And that's kind of the core underlying principle of NLP. And I think a lot of those patterns that people have in their brains, because I do really buy into that concept, are driven by, possibly defending to previous things that have happened before. And I think back to your key question, Joe, about why do we do what we do? I think a lot of it is because of that. And I do hope that as we're moving forward to society and people are becoming more open about this stuff, there's less of a need for people to have so many barriers up, as we all kind of understand that we all have those things and we all feel the same, and we're probably not all doing things for purely negative reasons. It might be more those defense reasons, or even like you say, Ron, if what you call a selfish thing around the spending time, there's that's not anything negative on anyone else, and no one gets hurt from that or anything else. So I don't think that's necessarily even a negative thing in itself.
True, but it isn't a solely selfless task.
I think that goes back to the whole thing of human connection, doesn't it? I think, when you say you're doing it because you don't want to, you want to play on your own or be on your own, it's because we're driven by, like we say, one of our needs as a human being is to be connected to other human beings. I mean, part of the group. And one of the other things which I think you sort of alluded to, is that the stories people tell themselves, and this is why I love coaching so much, is because within that coaching process, you get people to look at their stories, and then they can examine those stories and understand why they're doing the things they're doing. And that usually, if it's something happens in the past, what they're doing is they're bringing that story forward and then using that story to look at it through that lens to perceive a new situation. It may not be that situation at all. They're just looking at it through the lens of the past experience that's giving them that same answer. They react in a similar way that doesn't really serve them. So I think it's a really powerful thing that, in fact, when I've lately sort of rolled out, what coaching is and what coaching isn't, people have really brought into the room, things about, sometimes it's like I pick up little stories they tell themselves, like the first sort of things, I'm just not a good writer. And I'll pick that up and I'll say, we've just picked up a story here. Do you mind me sharing it? Sort of say, look, someone says they're not a good writer. That's a story because somewhere back in the past, someone's judged it, someone's looked at it and said to you, or you picked up and said, I'm just not a good writer. And you can always improve that skill. And I think these are the things that hold us back from being good writers. I'm not the greatest of writers, and I know I've always struggled with it. The one thing I try and do, I think I talked about before, is I'm trying to make the efforts to make it better, to make it good. Because I train, I have to really make an effort to make it clearer. But again, it goes back to that whole thing of, when, back in the day, I've probably got an experience back there that I'm probably not quite aware of, where I had that as a story. And I think those are things, the things we say are really important. And we say, even when we're not thinking about it, if someone's really listening, if you're a coach or someone, you can really pick up those things. You can bring that to their attention, and then they can say, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. And that's where the power is. That's where the transformational power is, examining those stories and actually changing the words, changing the things you say, because things you say become, will shape the person you will become. And I think these are so important. I think that you were saying about, people react in different ways in different situations, and can be, they can react. And again, you'll react because you are in a pattern, as the NLP pattern, as you're saying, in a pattern. And they don't recognize the pattern. They're not aware of the pattern. So someone really listening to them and asking, so what happened there? What was it that happened? And bringing it to their attention, oh, I know why I do that now. Then they can start to break the patterns I know there's things like swish methods and stuff like that, talk about NLP and stuff like that, but literally talking about it in that way really starts to empower people to make a change. And then, when you're thinking what makes you do what you do, that's where it is. And I think power of choice, sometimes if you think about it, sometimes those choices can be narrowed because of those things, because of the things
you limit your own choices.
You limit them, where there is loads of choice, you just limit them because of the things of the past. You put, your patterns, you limit them. You don't recognize, you don't realize there is other choices, or you look at them and you think, well, I'm just writing that up because it's just not possible or whatever. And I think it's a really powerful message in there. It's really good. I like that.
No, it's good, and I like it more. Even as we talk this through, how powerful that question is. You started this with, Joe, because the whole thing again in NLP, but not just that, in coaching, developing everything overall, is you need to understand how your own mind works and kind of be able to shape that, I think, to be able to really do that with other people, and hope, because really the first trick, like you said there, Joe, is people aren't aware of the pattern, and what you need to do is help them become aware of that, what triggers them, what drives them, because once you know it, you can you can harness it, or you can shape it, or you can do both.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think the more you study people, I think the more bound people pick it up as well. Like, so yourself. So if you do want to sort of become a coach or sort of be a leader, spend lots of people, speak with lots of people, and really listen and really listen to the stories they're saying. Because another thing that's really important when we coach or when we're sort of mentoring people, what we've got to be careful of is we've got to be careful of not putting our own patterns on them, and that we clear our own agendas, clear our own patterns, and really listen to what they're saying. Because sometimes, when you're coaching someone and they're coming to you with a problem, your mind's going to start to try and solve that problem. Now, if you're in mentoring mode, that's absolutely fine, because you say, well, do you mind a moment while I've come across this before, I've got some information, we'd like to share that with you. If you're mentoring, that's fine, because you're from experience. If you're training, then you're going to give them information, so that's fine. If you're purely coaching, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to come up with a solution, but bringing to their attention the things that may be holding them back. But one of the hardest things I always find in coaching is to suspend your agenda, suspend your ideas while you're really trying to find out how to push them on their solutions, how to push them on their stories, how to push them on their patterns. I've seen this. What are your thoughts? You said this. Did you recognize that? What are your thoughts around that? How could you start to deal with that? Or how could you start to move forward from that? What's the first thing you could do? And those types of questions, when you're looking at people and trying to spend that, chatty in your own mind when you're doing it, it's a difficult skill, but if you practice, you can do it. So I would challenge all our listeners. I do it to myself, and I still have to, really practice it. It's when you're with someone, you are with someone, and you have to suspend everything, and you have to be in the moment, not thinking about your thoughts, clearing your mind, not thinking about what's coming next, but really being with them. And then that's the best way in which you will help people move forward and deal with stuff. But yeah, it's a really powerful thing. Are we quiet? What's going on? Have I cut off?
No, I think that's true. No. It's really tough, and it's something I've learned over. Is that thing you said, Joe, about just listening to what someone is saying, and it's human instinct, isn't it, to go into problem-solving mode? It's what you do. You start thinking about, if you were in that situation, what would you do? Trying to offer advice, and sometimes, from a more wider, just kind of personal conversation thing, sometimes people are reaching out for advice, and sometimes people just need to sound off. And they're not looking for advice. And I know this, and I recognize it in myself now, that sometimes I'll just be needing to get something off my chest, and someone will start telling me what I can do different. And in that moment, it's like the last thing I want to hear, even if it makes complete sense and it's completely logical. And 10 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I should do. You're just wanting to get it off your chest. And sometimes that is what people need. And other times it's people are reaching out for, that actual genuine support and input and advice. And it's about that, being able to read what other people are. It's not what they're thinking, but what they're looking for. Are they reaching out for emotional support? Are they actually needing genuine logistical support? And like you said, back to that thing about truly listening, not just to the words people are saying, but actually what's going on.
Yeah, definitely, and you can tell that. And I think there's also a bit, and I really liked what you said around. Well, I just want to sound off. I think there's a lot of responsibility on us as well. Like, if we go out, when we're trying to sort of resolve something, I think it's a responsibility enough to say, well, look, if I just want to sound off, maybe we should just say to the person, I just want to sound off. Would you mind just listening for me for a moment, just like so I can sound off, and then what I will do once I've finished, if I need a question, I was asking so your views on it, we can do that. So I think there's a bit of responsibility on us as well about doing that, because I don't do that enough, I don't think. I think when I'm with people, I think, actually, I just want to talk, but I don't necessarily want a solution. I just want to sound off. And I think that's not a bad little thing, that if you are struggling or whatever, you just want to speak to someone, just say to them, look, I don't really want a solution. I just want to get a sound off. Do you mind just being in the room while I do that? And you can just sort of, if I ask a question, you then respond. Is that all right? I think setting the boundaries and setting the scene for it, I think, could be quite a powerful thing for everybody. And I think that's a real powerful thing for our leaders as well. Like, you could do that with people in your team, because someone in your team might just want to moan. They just might need to get it off their chest. So, are you looking for a solution? Or just want to just sound off? Let's get it out there,
Yeah. And to use a coach with, I signpost that. I do it like with whoever I'm reporting into generally. Sometimes when it is just a sounding off, I'll go and speak to them, or I'll give them a phone call, and I'll kind of at the start, I'll say, look, I just need to get this off my chest, and then everything's good, but I just need to say this. And then they know kind of where I'm coming from.
Good, yeah.
Which they're happy to do. And with people who I'm working with, I will always have a conversation with them where I say, look, I'm always about, send me a message, give me a phone call. It doesn't even have to always be constructive. Sometimes if you just need to get something off your chest, feel free just to give me a call and do that, because people sometimes do it, and let them know that that's an okay thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's really funny you saying that, because when you said about I just want to get off my chest as well, Ryan, I think, or you feel this as well, is that people have it's their limbic system, emotional chimp kicking off. And leads to your book. I'm going to insert the book, Chimp Paradox.
Chimp Paradox, I love it.
I'm going to show it to the camera, with a limbic system, where you've got to exercise the chimp. He calls it the chimp, and you've got to exercise the chimp, let it out. And I think that's sometimes knowing when someone's exercising their chimp and just going, let them blow off the steam and let them calm down, so the logical brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, can get a chance to, because it will get hijacked by the limbic system, or the chimp, it'll get hijacked. The whole brain gets hijacked, so kicking off, and you just have to wait for everything to settle down before your prefrontal cortex, your logical system, comes in and goes, okay, I've done that now, so how can I start to resolve it? I think it's really powerful. I love that. I think you introduced me to that book, actually. I think you actually introduced me to that one. The Chimp Paradox. I really enjoyed it, and it's funny. I picked it up the other day because I was trying to explain to my wife the amygdala was, and I knew the amygdala. I knew it was a limbic system, but I had to check it, and I went to that book. It's in there. I knew I've read it somewhere. I knew it. So it's in there. So it's, the amygdala is like, it's your your part of the brain which was done for survival. Like Ryan, you were talking about survival, right? It's just talking about just wanting to do things to survive, wanting to do things to survive with the less expenditure of energy as possible. That's why people look for hacks. That's why people do things they do and look for hacks for the quick fixes, because the amygdala is going, I just want a quick fix. I don't want to go into all detail. I just want a quick fix. But the problem is a lot of those things, like if you need self-development space, they just don't work, because you need to put in the work. So you have to expend that energy to get somewhere. So that's where I think us as human beings, we're lagging behind technology a little bit, because technology is so fast. Our brains aren't really built for it. The brain is such an amazing tool, but in terms of these sort of very early parts of the brain, like the amygdala, like the limbic system, it struggles to deal with that immediacy in terms of how can I do this properly? How can I make sure I do the work? And actually us talking about those limits, and when we say we don't want to do something, what's the reason we don't want to do it? We don't want to do it because we don't want to spend the energy, we don't want to spend the time. We can't be bothered. We don't feel in the mood. So the whole point is to recognise when that's happening, when we feel emotional state, we feel down, or we feel we just don't want to do it. We know that's our limbic system kicking in, going, it's just trying to keep you safe. But we know if you want to grow, if you want to improve, you have to push past that. And so you have to wait for that.
It says, isn't it? It's how well do you know your chimp?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like you said, being aware of that and what those triggers are. Do you know your chimp, Ryan? He comes out when we don't do well at Fortnite. He likes to slam your controller all day.
He's calling me out now.
You're chimping, Ryan, chimping.
I was going to say earlier as well, though, Ryan, do you think the whole reason that actually I'm kind of the person who drags our team down is just because I tell myself that, like Joe was saying with the writing, if I believe I'm great, come next time we play, I'll be leading the scoreboard?
I think that's a fair shout, for sure.
See, Lee? Just put in the work, Lee. Just keep putting in the work, my friend.
Indeed.
Keep putting in the work. You'll get there. But
one day I will be a great Fortnite player.
You will be.
Today I am a great Fortnite player.
That's good. That's an affirmation right there. So, I know I've mentioned him a little time, but Evan Carmichael said about League of Legends, right? He wants to get good at League of Legends. And so he sponsored this guy, and I told you about before previous podcast. But he said, well, if you want to get good at League of Legends, you have got to put in X amount of work. But he's struggling putting that work because he does so much, whatever. He's struggling putting it in. And so it shows that if you are dedicated, put in the work, you will get better. So if, Lee, you want to be a top class Fortnite player, you've got to dedicate the hours to it. Dedicate hours. And
I did lag behind a bit last season, didn't I, Ryan?
Yes.
What was the average? Ryan? What was the average?
I reckon I've a couple of weeks cumulatively less.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ryan? What workout? What A, B, C, D, A high? What would you say is time spent or effort put into Fortnite would have been in that space?
In comparison to his usual output, I'd say maybe like a D.
Oof.
Oh, I was going to go for C-, but I think you're probably making a fair assessment there.
Oh, you've been marked, Lee. See, there you go. See, so that's the point, isn't it? But so David Goggins talks a lot about it. I've talked about him about it a lot. I've got his book. I've not started reading it yet. His book is You Can't Hurt Me, but he talks about your limiter. So it's almost like the chimp, but it's always limiter. So when you're doing difficult things, your brain's going to say, "Hey, you want to stop this? Hey, be comfortable. You just want to just chill out a little bit. You don't want to be doing that." But if it's something you really want to do, you have to push part that limiter. You have to push. He calls it the governor. You know, where cars come out of the factory, they're restricted because of whatever. So you have to push past that. We all have it. So it's recognised we want to push ourselves harder. We have to push past that. Obviously not so you harm yourself. But to a limit where you know that it's your brain holding you back rather than you wanting to do the thing you want to do. So again, it goes back to that. If you want to do it, if you know there's people out there that have done it, then it's possible. You just have to dedicate yourself to it. So yeah, I just think it's exciting to think that you can get good at practically anything if you put in the time, providing you've got the physical capability. That's pretty exciting. That's pretty damn exciting. So it's just, I think that's really brilliant. I don't know what else to say about that. I think it's exciting things. If you want to do something, you can do it. Look at what we do in the podcast. Look at what we're putting out there. It's possible. Absolutely possible. You just got to decide, make the choice, because you have the choice. But we said before, look at your stories, what you're telling yourself, and also if you do want to do something like Lee, so I want to be the great Fortnite player. Do your actions match to your ambition? Look at what you're doing. Have you got it scheduled in your week?
People can see the look on my face now that say no, they probably don't.
Have you got it in your? Ryan, has he got it scheduled in the week that he's playing 3 hours of Fortnite a night or 4 hours a night? Or I don't know what it would take. What would it take, Ryan, to be one of the best Fortnite players out there? Do you think? What would be the dedication you'd need to be one of the best? Do you think?
8 hours a day, 7 days a week.
There you go. So that's the bar.
It is, but when I rate that against the other stuff I do, it's probably not the most important thing on my list when I think about that much time spent and what I wouldn't do instead.
So what is it?
I'll stick with being mediocre.
So well, that's it. That's fine, isn't it? So what is it, Lee? What is the thing?
Oh, my internet's playing up on me again.
No, I think
what's the thing that's more important?
What is the most important thing? What's the thing you dedicate the most time to?
Work, I would expect.
You said we'll expect. Doesn't sound too certain.
No, it's definitely
I'd probably back that.
Yeah.
Being that I work with Lee, I'd probably say that that's probably where he invests. That's his main excuse if he's not playing. Occasionally it will be, I've got something on. And he's quite secretive. He won't tell me what he's doing all the time. So he'll say like, "I'm not on tonight. I'm busy," and I'll be like, "All right, okay." But if it's work related, then he'll say, "Look, I just got in from work. Maybe I'll come on later, or I don't know." So I'd say, it probably would fit that.
And I think in the top three, there's work, there's spending time with / communicating with friends and family, and then there's doing the podcast, and then Fortnite might come in a fourth place under that.
No, so you got a priority.
Yeah.
There was something. You just said something.
Maybe it comes fifth to watching wrestling because I'm a bit of a nerd for wrestling.
That's what I got the balance, haven't you? You've got to have the
There we
balance
go.
there.
There's my five. My five.
Oh, there was
things.
one thing. Yeah, you said about earlier. I wanted to pick you up on actually. I was trying to think of. It was about when you don't return messages. You said you felt guilty.
Yeah.
What was the reason? What is the reason that you don't return the messages? Not without thinking about how you feel guilty about, because you want to help. You don't want people to feel that they're not responding to. But I want you to think about the messages. What is it about that?
I'll look at a message and I'll think, I'll respond to that in a minute, and like you said to me, not bad memory, but it just doesn't come back into my consciousness again until I see it again.
Is it because you have something more pressing in your mind?
No, because a lot of messages will come through when I'm at work, and one of these Apple Watches where I can read the message, and then I swipe it off, thinking I'll look at that later, and the trigger's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, you swipe it off.
Yeah, which is probably my mistake.
You have to don't. You have to ignore it. Like
I look at it, but even if I leave it there, even I've got a little red thing on the phone, I just
you can.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to get too geeky, but you can just push your spinning wheel to clear it, and the red dot will appear. But as long as you just swipe down from the top and swipe back up, it will disappear.
Yeah.
You don't have to read it, because if you're reading them and they're not replying, then no wonder you're forgetting, because there's no notification there.
Oh,
yeah, but
love that.
I'll try that. I will try that. I'm not going to make an excuse why I don't do it. I am going to try that.
Because
I've also. Oh, so gone.
I texted you the other day. I'm just trying to find it.
Oh, it's 24 hours later, I think, when I got back to you.
Yeah, Monday night I texted you saying you're playing Fortnite, and you said, not tonight, long day, will be on tomorrow. And I said, hope all's good, and didn't hear from him for a day. I was like, are you dead or what? And then he was like, yeah, I'm fine.
And I did
yeah,
it. I read it and then carried on working and then went to sleep, and that was it. You had no chance. You're lucky you got a response the next day.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's not, I'm not responding to people. I'm just slow at responding to people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just wonder whether
you're not the only person on earth, are you? Let's be honest. There'll be other people that do it. I said you won't be the only person on earth that's doing it. I don't think there's anything to feel guilty for. Some people,
I agree.
You're just busy. You know, I wouldn't expect a reply from Bill Gates inside 5 minutes if I knew him and was friends with him.
I'm not quite sure on Bill Gates though.
No, but the level of busyness is comparable. We don't like the word busy, do we? The level of
no, but it's, I've said this before. It's not the word busy; it's the context of the word busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you said that, Lee, didn't you? Because I said, I'll put you picture up, and it's not because it's good busy. I think Lee, you said to me, wasn't it?
Yeah. And there is, you can be a bit. It's when it's that whole, oh God, it's just so busy type of thing. So I was talking to someone earlier at work about someone else where we work, and was saying how good they are and helpful they are with stuff, and we have like an internal, like what you'd call employee of the month type thing. We call it company heroes. And I said, oh, actually, I'm going to put them forward for that. And we were just talking a bit more about it. We said, you know what, as well, whenever you speak to him and you ask how he is, he never then unloads how, oh, I'm busy, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's, oh, I'm good. And he's just got a real positive mindset.
I've never been.
But one of the big reasons that he's really good is he gets stuff done as well. It's not like he's lazy. Yeah, so it is the productive rather than busy.
Oh, it's naturally productive then.
Yeah.
So he's actually just doing it.
That's it. And I don't think he even knows he's doing it.
That's a natural trait.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Because I think, back in that, I would just always respond with, oh, I'm just busy. I would do that. I would say that. But now you.
Oh, and I bet I think until it started to build in my head, I think I probably did exactly the same thing. So again, none of it's criticism. It's just moving on and shaping behaviours. I've got a chimp confession for you guys as well.
We'll call him chimp. Let's have that.
And I'm putting this out there like we do with other things, because I'm thinking it might break this bad habit that I've built up. So one of the examples they give you in the Chimp book, the Chimp Paradox, it's called, people, by Professor Steve Peters, I believe.
I'll put it up as well. Yeah, cool. I'll put it up. Just put it on the screen. There you go. Yeah.
So he's got it up and he's putting it up on the screen, everyone.
Steve Peters mentored my hero.
Who's that?
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Really?
What, snooker player?
Mm-hmm. So,
look at that.
A little bit of backstory.
Wow.
There was obviously controversies in the early 2000s. Even if you're not a fan, you'll probably know of him walking out of matches, testing positive for drugs and things like that, and just not being very sportsmanlike. He worked with Steve Peters, and then he won back-to-back world championships. So,
Oh, that's so funny
That's amazing.
that's probably my number one behavioural book. Obviously, I got Joe into it as well, and the fact that he mentored your hero, that's such a weird link as well.
It is
I
so-
definitely encourage you to seek out that book, Ryan.
yeah,
Have you not got it, Ryan? You definitely have to get it. It's so good.
I'll have a look for it on popular book selling website.
I was...
We can give him a plug. We give him a plug. I think Ryan's referring to Amazon.
that River one, yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking for my copy, but I think I've lent it to someone. I don't know where it's gone.
Line the
got
richest
mine.
man in the world's pockets even more.
So, anywho, my confession. So, in the book, it tells you about one of the things is with your chimp, and it's all about not letting your chimp kick in sometimes. So, there's lots of other bits where it talks about how you have the right time to release it, but quite often bad habits are your chimp, and you need your brain to get in before your chimp does. And the example is getting up in the morning. So, you wake up, or more so, your alarm goes off, and you wake up, and your choice is either you get up out of bed or you decide to hit that snooze button again. And that's your chimp hitting the snooze button. It's not yourself. And if you can power through the chimp and get in there before it, you can get up and be up and out, because you feel no better after you've snoozed 22 times than when you do the first time it goes off. And that's one of the tricks it teaches you to kind of start training your chimp, is to use the snooze thing. And I've developed a real bad habit of snoozing far too much the last couple of weeks, to the point I wake up far later than I should do, and it's making me late for things. And I just thought maybe if I put that out there and you guys can check in with me on it, I can have a bit more of a trigger in that head to beat the chimp.
So yeah. So
And I hadn't been aware. I'm aware I'm doing it, but by the time I'm out of the house, I've forgotten I've done it. And it just, as we've been talking, it's crept back in my head. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm listening to my chimp a lot.
So I've got a little bit of view of this because I watch a lot of stuff about self-development. So they say if you hit that snooze button, you're killing your dreams, because you're telling yourself your person doesn't hit their goal because you're not getting up on time. And I quite like that, because the first battle is the first battle in the morning. Now, I must admit, I still struggle with it. Even though I don't use an alarm, I've got better. I said to you, I still don't use an alarm. I don't. But sometimes I look at the clock and it is like 4:55, and it was 4:55 this morning. In fact, I got up at 5:10. And I went, oh, but I did get up, but I still laid there. I was resting my brain in my bed going, I need to get up. So there is that thing, and it's that chimp. It's the chimp, or when you call it your restrictor, when you call it the governor, it's that thing that your brain's just saying, you don't want to spend the energy, you want to stay in bed, you want to just like chill out. And a lot of the people who are highly successful that I've studied through the channel and stuff like that, are that they say if you win that first decision in the morning, Mel Robbins goes, go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. David Goggins just says, get up. As soon as you wake up, get up. Someone said to me, I know I went to, I think there was actually with my daughters, they went to I think it was, what was it called? A counsellor. They said, get your feet on the floor. If you get your feet on the floor, it's starting to send a message to your brain that you're ready to go. Even with all these things, I know that are right. I still have a battle in the morning, even though I don't use them. I've got past the alarm bit, but I still have this whole battle in the morning. Not all the time, but some of the time I have to go. I've got to get up, and I have a look at the alarm, not the alarm, sorry, the clock, and I put the light on to have a little look, and then it's 5 minutes gone. It's all right, I've got to get up. And then I've got to get up. But it's hard, it's difficult. So we all do it. It's just that dictates, I think. It's almost like the bed thing, isn't it? I think it's like the bed thing. Get up, make your bed, just get up as soon as you can. And then we did the 5 a.m. thing. I got up even earlier. And that was interesting, because I got up earlier because I knew I had to do the things what I needed to get on to do the 5:30. So I need to do the videos. So in fact, when I'm articulating this, because I've got to do the videos, it makes me get up.
So that's your reason.
Yeah, so I've got a strong enough reason. If I didn't have to do the videos, then I'll probably get up later. But because I know they're important, and now I've got people waiting for them now. people actually, I'm waiting for you. Like they literally said, "I'm so glad for this video." I think back to Ryan's thing. There's that accountability that I will let them down if I don't do it. There's that thing now on it, and also with the streak. So I think there's a real lot of powerful reasons why I have to do it before I get up and go to work, which is really interesting. So maybe you need some type of thing, Lee.
Yeah, and I think I've normally got reasons to get me up, and I think they started to not ebb away, but the chimps kind of overruling it. So I'm going to kick it, and I still do. And you reference the bed thing, so I still make my bed before I leave, no matter how late I'm running. But I just need to beat the chimp. Also, what you said about the first getting up on your first alarm, what happens if you consciously decide to set 2 alarms so you can have a bit of snooze time in between? Is that allowed? I'll just get up on the second alarm.
As long as you get up on the second one, if that's the
all right, that's a deal.
As long as you've set the rule, then that's fine. But you must get up on the second one.
Cool, that's a deal. I'm going to put my hand out to my screen and shake it, and hope you do the same thing. So it looks like we're shaking hands. If not, it's just me waving my hand in front of the screen.
I'm doing the same. That's just a bit weird.
There we go.
Right,
we've made a deal.
Right, did you do it?
I didn't. It wasn't my deal.
Okay.
Yeah, we weren't having a freeway, Joe.
Whoa.
Right, so that feels like a good note to tread the line.
By the way,
now, I think
I just wanted to pick up on something before we go.
Go. Yeah.
So there's something I've been looking on this Discord. I'm new to this Discord malarkey that we use. Lee, what am I going to do with you? We just had an interesting gift, but I can't really say it. TikTok something, which is MF, so I'm not saying it. That's what it said. And it's Samuel Jackson. Is that right? Samuel Jackson.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Griffey Bond.
Yeah.
I've got playing Grand Theft Auto 5. Is that what you're doing?
Oh, it's minimised in the background. I've not.
Is
been
it?
playing
He's not even been podcasting. He's been playing Grand Theft Auto.
No.
Multitasking.
I could be Fortniting right now.
It's just minimised. It's just minimised in the background. I promise.
It's really clever. That. How does it do that? That's
It just identifies what game you're playing.
Is that going to be on your PC and then it picks up what you're playing? That's really clever.
Yeah.
Okay, so clever. Anyway, I just wondered, playing Grand Theft Auto, I quite like.
I thought somebody might call me out for this.
Oh, sorry.
I hadn't even noticed. I'm so unobservant.
It's the first time I've seen it on there because I've never seen it before until.
I don't know if does it change? No, I don't think it's changed. I just opened something else and it doesn't seem to have changed.
No. And also, Lee, you always said like a sleepy moon thing, and I was trying to put it on mine, but do not disturb.
It just means he's away.
Does it actually? Can you set that manually?
It does it 5 minutes after you don't do anything, but you can set it manually. Yeah, you'll have one in your bottom left corner. I don't think this is podcast talk, but yeah.
No, sorry.
That's very true.
It's technical talk, isn't it?
We could have probably wrapped this up about 4 minutes ago, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Anyone who uses that, we've got our tech guru Ryan who knows all that stuff. That's why we always go. We always go to Ryan for our tech stuff, which is always very, very useful. And we go to Lee for the gifts, which make me laugh. And I couldn't stop looking at that one with the karate man. I kept looking at that. Anyway, that's so weird. Anyway,
so
go on.
I was going to do my spiel. We thank everyone for listening. We are across all platforms at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN. Joe is at JN Coaching Tech. YouTube is getting onto good momentum now. We'd really love you to go across and not only can hear us, but you can see us as well. The Inspiration Nation podcast on YouTube, and of course Joey's on TikTok, JN Coaching Technologies. We thank everyone for listening again this week. We hope you'll join us next week for what will be, and we're very excited about this, our 1 year anniversary of doing the podcast. Woo! Which is quite a momentous milestone.
That is amazing.
We got an email last week, or I got an email through after posting the episode to say congratulations on your 50th episode. However, I think the 1 year is really the big milestone. So I'm looking forward to this. We're going to do a very big kind of year in review journey update for everyone. It's been a while since we've done one of them.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Going to get together face to face for the first time in a while. So we hope everyone will join us for that. Coincides, if I've got my maths right, with Joe's 500th video as well. So maybe we should do your 500th video all together as well, Joe.
Yeah, we could do that. We could post one. Or do you think I should wait and just post it later?
Yeah, we'll do it a bit later in the day if that works for you.
Yeah, of course we can do that.
There we go. Lots of exciting stuff coming for everyone. Again, thank you for listening. Inspirationnation.org.uk for all your merchandise. JN Coaching Tech into your Google machine for Joe, and at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN for any feedback. The stats I get shows me that over half of you are listening on Apple devices. So just go straight back into that Apple Podcast app. Leave us some comments, hit that 5-star review button, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Counting this down.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation. Catch you guys later.
Later.